Jacob, I have reached a scary, scary point in the Louisville basketball season. We are now halfway through the season, and I am pushing. I can't believe I'm even saying this, especially if we started from the beginning. If we went back to the beginning of the season, I told you what the record is and the situation that we're in. I don't think I would have believed it, but I've reached a level of almost, I'm not going to say quite yet, but I've reached almost a level of apathy. I think right now I'm close to anger, and we're pushing towards apathy right now. Presley Meyer, Jacob Lane. Jacob, how are you feeling after Louisville's 79-70 wire-to-wire loss to Virginia?
Man, way to set that up. Just the equivalent of that to start the show. I'm good,
Fart
man.
noise. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. This year, I don't know what it is about this season of sports in particular. Maybe it's just a year thing and it'll go back to the way that it was, but I don't find myself as emotionally connected to losses the way that I used to. Now, granted, I haven't been to a game in person since non-conference play. Maybe that changes things if I'm at a game. But at home, it feels really easy to just like turn the channel, be like, man, that sucks. That really is disappointing. If I had to grade this on was it Stanford? It wasn't Stanford. Like, that's my scale this season right now is, was it Stanford? Like, that after that game, what I just said went out the window because it's like, fuck, it was Stanford. We just lost to Stanford. Right. What the hell are we doing? We just lost to Stanford. This is not Stanford. And Stanford's a good basketball team. Don't get me wrong. They've obviously shown that since. But, yeah, not as emotionally distraught. I'm feeling pretty good. No liquid courage. I'm kind of in the middle of like a moist January. That's a thing this year. I don't know how that word makes you feel. Yeah, have you heard about moist January? That's the trend. Do you know what that is?
The folks are asking. It's like where you do dry January. Like if you're not planning on drinking, if you go over to your buddy's house and they're like, want a beer? You're like, yeah, I'll have a couple.
Yeah, I'll get moist.
But it's not like after work happy hour. I think that's correct. A good way to explain it.
That's exactly right. Yes, a moist January. Some of you are participating in dry January. Congratulations. I wish I was that disciplined. I'm not. That's why I look the way that I do, and my belly sits over my belt the way that it does. But I'm drinking when drinks are around, and when go out to bar or go out to a restaurant, or if I buy a 6-pack. And so tonight I didn't have any. And despite the Surfsides that sit behind me and plenty that sit above my fridge, they're not meant for a moment like tonight. This wasn't, I love Surfsides and we'll always go to Surfsides, but when I'm trying to feel better about myself tonight, I needed to be dry. It just, it didn't get me as connected, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know what we were talking about. I just wanted to say moist.
I think Freddie Surfside, inventor of the Surfside, even would tell you 365 days straight of drinking Surfsides is not recommended.
That's right.
I think that would be ill-advised.
Freddie got moist in his day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Freddie gets moist in his,
Freddie Surfside knew when to keep it moist and when to keep it dry.
That's exactly right. And when to get it flowing. No, but it's a great segue into the shots tonight. Despite Louisville, I don't think it was an awful night 3-point shooting in a 79-70 loss. I don't have the exact 3-point shoot. 10 for 38. Okay, that is kind of bad. It didn't seem as bad to the eye, and maybe I don't know quite why that is. Maybe it's because Isaac McNeely was hot, and when he did shoot, it went in. But it didn't feel like Louisville was as bad from the 3-point line tonight. But then I see it on paper, and I'm like, okay, yeah, 26%. Probably a damn good reason why they lost this basketball game, Presley. So for them, they are participating in moist January also. They show up, and sometimes they're wet, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're dry tonight. It's you never know what you might find with this Louisville team in terms of its range of wetness.
In terms of its variance of moisture, if you will.
Right.
Look, man, I'll kind of push back a little bit. I'll disagree with you a little bit. Isaac McNeely 5 for 14 from 3 tonight. I mean, he came out. He played aggressively, and look, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with this Isaac McNeely. If we got that every night, I think we'd win a lot more games. Just full transparency. Because what happened is once his shot starts falling, I think a lot of things happen a lot better for him. Right? He's able to create for others. He's able to get to the basket. You saw him get to the bucket for just an easy, wide-open layup a couple times tonight. You see him caring a little bit more on defense. I mean, let's just call it how it is, right? Like, he was pretty solid on defense overall. This was another dose of life without Mikel Brown and with Ryan Conwell against a team with a pulse, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Louisville plays a team that's halfway decent this year without Mikel Brown, it's been disgusting. And I would make a case, and we can go into this a little bit here in a second, but I'd make a case that that's completely inexcusable. This is a team that could still absolutely be like a top 4 seed without Mikel Brown, right? Like, obviously, it's built around and constructed around Mikel Brown, right? Like, it's like the Ravens offense. You know, you have some solid tight ends. You have some, you know, elite level running backs, decent offensive line. But if Lamar's not playing, then all of it goes to shit. And that's kind of how it's felt without Mikel Brown. And I don't think it should be like that, right? Like, if you examine this roster, if Louisville constructed this entire roster, Mikel Brown pulls a Trenton Flowers and leaves at the last second, this is still an NCAA tournament team. There is zero doubt about that in my mind. This is still a good team.
Sure.
And I think that kind of goes into our first question that we prepared for, right? Like, I think the first thing we wanted to discuss is how good is Louisville without Mikel Brown? The answer right now is not good, right? Like, the evidence is right in front of you. 3-4 against obviously, you played Duke, a team that's competing for a national title this year, but a team that you were absolutely pegged as being of their caliber, up to snuff with a team like Duke. You're supposed to be up to stuff with a team like Michigan or Michigan State in the Big Ten, or you know, this Virginia team tonight. You should be much better than them. And I think regardless of having Mikel Brown or not, Louisville's got to be better than this. And I think it's an indictment on the coaching staff, 100%. Like, I'm not afraid to say that whatsoever. I think the coaching has to be better. You cannot continue to see the same mistakes made over and over, and the same blunders, and the same, you know, I think we've gotten to this point now where last year we were like, Pat Kelsey out of timeouts is fantastic. Pat Kelsey off a dead ball is fantastic, right? This year, I'm just like, God, I kind of hope we turn it over just so we can get it back the score, right? Like, it's one of those where it's like, Louisville is not able to get any free-flowing offense and completely gets momentum, gets completely stagnant on both ends of the court. Number one, if they're not hitting shots, and number two, if they can't draw up a play off of a dead ball. Like, so tonight, a team like Virginia that presses 40 minutes, they're going to muck up everything. You're not going to be able to get into your offense. The only chance to get into transition is off of a long rebound. And when Louisville got into transition, they got their shit swatted like 6 times, right? Like, you know, I think perfect example. Ryan Conwell, with, I want to say, about 3-4 minutes left in the game. Louisville's down 5-6, somewhere in there, right? Like, very much within striking distance. Looking to seize momentum. Virginia misses a contested 3. Ryan Conwell gets a long rebound and immediately puts his head down and goes 65 feet to the basket from the opposing free throw line, gets his shit sent. Virginia goes back down court, hits a 3. And at that point, I think I text you, that's curtains right there. Like, that is the theme of what Louisville is. It's the antithesis of what Louisville is since the Mikel Brown injury. And in no way, shape, or form should it ever be like this. And I think that's the part that's the most frustrating. So to kind of answer the question, how good is Louisville without Mikel Brown? As of right now, they're not a tournament team. I mean, let's just call it how it is, right? Like, I think we should be preparing for life without Mikel Brown for the rest of the season. I think that there's more than enough reason to believe that he could just shut it down, prepare for the NBA. Nobody would be any the wiser about his injury concerns, and he just moves on. And you know, we thank him for his whatever it was 8 games that he was able to contribute, and we move on, right? Like, I think that we should all be prepared for that. And if that is a situation that we're preparing for, Jacob, right now this is not a tournament team. However, they should be. They should absolutely be a tournament team, and it's inexcusable that they're as bad as they are right now.
Yeah, how good is Louisville without Mikel Brown Jr.? I would say they are a fringe tournament team at best, and that depends on how the 3-point shots are falling that evening or on any particular basketball day when they're competing in game action. This team, for the most part, for the last several games, has been operating in the F it Ryan Conwell's down there somewhere, where it's just Ryan Conwell get offense or really nothing. I mean, Louisville in the Duke game was 5 magical Ali Khalifa threes away from getting the doors absolutely blown off of them. If that run with Ali in the first half doesn't happen, and if Boozer doesn't have some of the foul trouble that he has, I don't think Louisville ever really takes that lead into halftime the way that Duke was playing, and coming off of the heels of Stanford, right? And then with the first half and early into the second half of BC, I think that's who Louisville is right now. And I think that they're a team that is got to figure out how to win without their main point guard. And in a lot of teams, Press, I think you could say that take away a player and it's not that drastic of a difference. But when you watch how this team played in the first however many games Brown was healthy and available at his best, and in some of his best moments, you saw just how dynamic this team was because of his ability to get them in transition, but also to break his man down off the dribble in the half court, and then command so much of the defense that it opened up Ryan Conwell, which then opened up other players around him. I think that those things all go away, and when you don't have a point guard who can initiate your offense and you're relying on 3 shooting guards and you're relying on a 7-foot center who really is, for the most part, immobile in terms of being able to do anything off the dribble, you're set up for an even harder opportunity, especially as teams try to slow you down. If a team slows Louisville down, like BC did in the first half, like Virginia did in this one, like Stanford did before them, like Duke did in the second half against Louisville, that's how you beat them. And I think you can take them out of their lane pretty easily. I think that Louisville doesn't have necessarily a counterpunch. And at this point, I think that's the indictment on the coaching staff is where is that? How is it that in games like Virginia, Duke, and some of the others, Sananda Fru just completely evaporates from the basketball court and you feel no impact, right? There are other players like Javon Hadley, like at times Kenai Roots, at times Isaac McNeely, other guys that have just simply not stepped up and seized any moment. And I don't know why that is. It seems like the culture is just a little bit lazier this year. And I don't mean that necessarily like these players are lazy, but it doesn't seem like there's that fire and that same burning energy that there was last year with the team that was out there with Chucky Hepburn and Javon Hadley. Even Javon Hadley looks like he's kind of year to year, doesn't look like the same player. So, Louisville is not a tournament team right now, but I still think that there's a long season ahead where you can figure that out. And there's not a lot of opportunities for, quad one. There's several, not a whole lot of opportunities. And when you're sitting with 5 losses already, you can't tell me there's not 5 or 6 more on the schedule as is, especially without Brown. That just makes Louisville a fringe tournament team. And at that point, you just got to wait it out on Selection Sunday and see what happens. But if Mikel Brown Jr. comes back and no pun intended, and takes over the role of the starting point guard, I think Louisville could be a team that goes into the tournament in a weird seed, 6 to 8 seed, and can make a lot of noise and actually make it to a Final Four as an underseeded team. That's the juxtaposition, but it's all dependent upon Brown coming back. I don't think you can reinvent this team in its current format. I think it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is in a sense. I think that, number one, you look at the upcoming schedule and it's scary, right? I mean, like tonight was so important because really your season could hinge on this game. And I sent out a tweet and look, I'd like to hand up. I will publicly apologize. I meant to put that Louisville, if they lost tonight, they'd be 2-3, which they are now. Mm-hmm. I accidentally put 1-3, and I'm so sorry to those who had to see that tweet,
walk the plank.
That X, if we're calling it that X post.
Walk the plank.
But we'll walk the plank on that one. But I mean, look, you got Louisville 2-3 now. The season, in a sense, kind of hinged on this game because, I mean, look, coming into the season, Pat Kelsey was what? I guess technically 0-2 against ranked teams at home. This year he's now 1-2, with that one win being against a Kentucky team that it probably won't end up being a quad one win by the end of the season, right? Like they're now without Jalen Lowe, playing again tomorrow without Jaden Quaintance. Like that's a UK team that's going to be right there on the bubble with Louisville, and that's Pat Kelsey's one lone victory against a ranked opponent at home. Just kind of let that sink in a little bit. But then I think the one advantage, but also very scary thing about this schedule this year. Last year it was all about you can't slip up. Like you can't even lose that Virginia or that Georgia Tech loss midseason that separated an otherwise like 22, 23 game winless streak. That was a 2 seed line game right there, and that was on the road at Georgia Tech. Right, that's not the case this year. Pitt isn't very good. Pitt is 7-9. Louisville goes on the road on Saturday at 8 p.m. Kind of a weird time, right? Like they'll probably get there Friday night and then have to wait all day on Saturday. Maybe take the kids to a matinee on Saturday morning or something.
It's a raucous environment, man. Peterson Event Center gets rocking.
Yeah, and if you have again no Mikel Brown and no Kenai Roots tonight or on Saturday, like Pitt's going to give you a game. And then you come back home and you're hosting Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is no slouch. They're 13-4. They're ahead of you in the conference standings, right? And then you go to Duke.
They're good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Virginia Tech is they're a tournament team right now. Then you go to Duke, a team that just absolutely told you to sit your ass down. They told you to have several seats in your 2 games ago now in the second half, right? And then, of course, you host SMU. So that's how you round out the month, right? So we're midway through the month at Pitt, Virginia Tech at home, at Duke, SMU at home. In my opinion, you got to go 3-1 in those games. And if you get the performance that you've seen basically since, I mean, you had the first half against Duke, which feels kind of like an anomaly at this point. When you look at the rest of January, you kind of got embarrassed at Stanford. You had to just string together an ugly comeback against Boston College, and then you get beat wire to wire against Virginia, right? Like that's the start to your month. And if you're looking back at that and you think that that's the same performance that you're going to get, a similar performance, right, against this schedule, I could see Louisville going 0-4. There's the wheels absolutely can fall off right here, and I think that's what's scary. But I think that you have opportunity there, right? You start to seize momentum and get say you get a double-digit victory at Pitt, as you should, as this team should. I don't care if they play 8 guys like they did tonight. You should beat Pitt, period. But I don't think it's a baked-in. It's not a guarantee by any means. Then you go home, host Virginia Tech, quality opponent. Never know, could be ranked by that point. And then Duke at home, Duke and SMU could be. North Carolina's obviously got to be thrown in there, but 2 of the 3 better teams in the ACC right now. So scary hours for these Louisville Cardinals. Getting into just a little bit of what Louisville looks like without without Mikel Brown, but also our next question coming into the game was, should Ryan Conwell be in consideration for ACC Player of the Year? Look, man, I don't want to. This feels like a bad, unfortuitous time to be talking about it, right? Like it was just not a good performance from Ryan Conwell tonight, forcing stuff like your 5-year-olds trying to force a poop. I don't know how old Liam is, right?
4.
But like that's 4. Yeah, I mean, that was Ryan Conwell tonight, and I think I texted you this, Jacob, during the game. Ryan Conwell, there's nothing wrong with being a number 2. And this guy is a great number 2. He has been for the last 3 years. He's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. A first team All ACC caliber player for Louisville at times this year. But without Mikel Brown, you're seeing the consequences of just giving Ryan Conwell the ball and just telling him to go make a play, right? It's out of control at times. It's undisciplined. It is out of the sequence of the offense, right? With Mikel, I think you keep things on track so much more. But when you don't have a point guard in the game, when it's Isaac McNeely and Adrian Woolley, and they're in the game with him, Louisville has a really, really tough time. And I think that's a direct indictment on Ryan Conwell, but that's also an indictment on the coaching staff and the way that they're kind of allowing this team to play without him. A lot of just forced, unnecessary threes. I understand that that's kind of what he's made his name on and what he's made his living on in the past. But I think when it's within the flow of the game and you miss an open three, oh well, right? But when it's, you have the chance for a momentum-changing play and you're down 5 and you rush the ball off the floor and immediately take a 27-foot three, I think that's when people start getting concerned, right? When you have the rest of the team running down the court with you, you have a chance to push this to 2 points with the crowd ready to just go berserk, and you're just jacking a contested three from 27 feet after you've missed like 4 or 5 other contested threes before that. I think that's where it becomes a concern. And so I do think that Ryan Conwell is, like, at the end of the season, we're going to see him on some all-conference lists. First team, I think, is a bit of a stretch, but I think that prior to Mikel going out, I think there's a little bit more of a conversation to be had, but I think it's kind of baked in. The writing's on the wall at this point, right? That Ryan Conwell is who he is, and I think that you need somebody to kind of take over and be that possession by possession ball handler and allow him to play off ball a little bit. I think that's where he thrives.
Yeah, I think that at this point, all of the major individual accomplishments have kind of gone out the window for Louisville just based off of the start. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't come to fruition as the season goes along. But at this point, despite Ryan having 3 20-plus point games in the first 5 of Louisville's ACC games, missing one to injury, you've seen the challenges that his team has had within those, right? He's still obviously been on the losing side, the majority of those outside of Cal. You see what he brings at his best, like first half of Duke, all ACC, like elite level performance. He got the team hot and got them out the gates and really set the tone. But then in a game like tonight against Virginia or the Stanford game or some of the others where it's, 24 points on 23 shots, it's not efficient basketball. It's go out and get it how you live it. Like that's how they play at times. And it's, I can't blame him as a hooper when the rest of the team is just kind of standing around waiting for you to do something. You're going to take matters into your own hands because you're going to look around and say, I'm the guy that's got to get us over the hump. And I think that you see him play a lot of hero ball, a lot of, just a lot of uncontested shot or ill-contested shots. And he is the king of the one and done at Louisville this year. What I call one and done, it's not Mikel Brown Jr. one and done. It's the come up, take a shot right away in the beginning of a possession without a single pass, without a single anything, just a bad three. We've seen that so many times this season. And I think for him, at this point, I still think he's the best scorer on Louisville's team. I still think that if Louisville's going to have any sort of a resurgence and a bounce back, which I think is very much possible with the right recipe of guys stepping up and them kind of blending their style with some changes and adjustments. But I still think that Ryan Conwell can be the best player on the team, can be an all-ACC performer, and still get this team to where it needs to be. But I don't think at this point any of the major accomplishments will fall within his lap. And I don't think that obviously that at this point, as you said, if he had a game tonight where we're coming off of Virginia losing by 7 and he brings Louisville back in the second half or after starting down 14-0 and he has 30 points and he did have 7 rebounds tonight, 6 in the first half, which is worth calling out. He does a lot of the little things really well. It's unfortunate the way things have gone. He needs Mikel Brown Jr. so much more on the floor in order to be the best at his role, which is just kind of crazy sometimes when you think about individual players thriving with that backcourt tandem. That's just kind of the dynamic of a 1 and 2. A 1 does things that a 2 can't a lot of the times, and you're seeing that play out in the fold. And also the other thing is, Press, not to be long-winded, but there's really no one else that can step up and play his minutes at this point. You need him out on the floor, and we've seen him in foul trouble. We've seen them have to go to Kobe Rogers and play him alongside Woolley or McNeely, and it's just not been good. The more minutes that you put on Kobe, the worse he plays. It's the law of diminishing returns. You need other guys to step up so Conwell can get that breather, so he can truly be able to play at his best and be able to be the offensive threat they need. So that's where I think things go. And, again, put it on Conwell's shoulder as the senior guard to help figure out how to get this team in the right place.
Yeah, man. You bring up a lot of things, right? Like we're kind of like, we're kind of butting up against what a lot of my concerns are about this team. One would be, outside of, I think a question that we had coming in, right, is regardless, win by 20, lose by 40, what would be your biggest concern if you could have one takeaway after this Virginia game? And it's unfortunate, but I think I have about 12. But I think a lot of them can be kind of filtered into like three pretty distinct headers, if you will. I don't know what three distinct categories, if you will. I think one thing that really comes to mind, and you just mentioned it, is Kobe Rogers and the trust from the coaching staff. I did feel there was a lot of talk in the offseason, right? Because I just had this. It's Louisville basketball, right? And with it being Louisville basketball, you knew you weren't going to have just 40 straight games of perfect Mikel Brown. We just can't have that. We're not allowed to have that, Jacob. That's not who we are as a program. It never has been, and I would never allow myself in the offseason. I would never allow myself to be convinced that Louisville would get that, right? Mikel Brown has gotten to a point already in this season, even though he sat out the last 7 games, he's already at a point that nobody else has ever been at in Louisville basketball history, in that he is a projected top 5, maybe even top 3, maybe even number 1 draft pick. He's the first true one and done of the Louisville era. And every other time Louisville's tried to usher in this era, whether it be from Trenton Flowers to Sebastian Telfair, to the Telfair versus Rondo, to Samardo Samuels, to whoever name the top, Brian Bowen, name a top recruit that Louisville has landed, even signed, even had on campus, even it's never gotten to the starting line, let alone the finish line. Jacob, it's never even got to the starting line. So the fact that you got Mikel Brown for 2 exhibition games and then 8 regular season games, God forbid that this is it for him and he packs it up and calls it a day. He's already gotten further than everybody else. But I never allowed myself to allow my brain to even envision what the finish line could look like with Mikel, because that's never been us. That's never been who we are. But my concern was, or my, I guess, really excitement was in the offseason, was how good Kobe Rogers would be. And when Mikel went out, yes, it was frustrating. But we saw when Mikel was playing and Kobe was coming in to spare him with Adrian Woolley off the bench, that he can be this guy that can right this ship and captain them to some wins. God forbid Mikel get hurt or not be able to play or opt out or whatever it is. And you go back to the last game that Mikel really played and contributed significantly was against Memphis. And Mikel had an okay outing. Obviously, we come to learn that he was injured during that game, or exacerbated an injury, if you will, during that game. Kobe Rogers came in and played 14 minutes in that game. He had the exact same stat line that he had tonight in 15 minutes as a primary, the only point guard on this team. And that's concerning to me that the coaching staff was so excited and so adamant about this being such a high level player that can really contribute as a potential starter at the Power 4 level. And it doesn't matter if Mikel is here or not. He's playing his, as you suggested, Jacob, his 10 to 20 minutes in a game, and he's giving you what he can give you. And I think that has contributed more to the lowering of Louisville's floor than I really realized. I thought that this guy was going to be able to contribute a lot more significantly than he has, and especially on the defensive end. And that kind of leads me into my second thing. Louisville's defense has to get better. We haven't even really mentioned the defense at all tonight in the first 25 minutes here, Jacob. But if Louisville doesn't get better defensively, there's really nothing you can do. You're going to have bad shooting nights. You're going to have nights when things aren't going your way, when the whistle's not going your way, when players get into foul trouble, when players get injured. I mean, look at the, Kanai Roots is just out tonight with the flu, right? Like, stuff happens, and you have to be able to buckle down and be solid defensively. And outside of Javon Hadley tonight, you really didn't get that against Virginia. I understand they're a really solid offensive team, but this is across the season. This is a since game one has been a storyline for Louisville, is that they can't keep guys in front of them, and Louisville doesn't really have a true post defender. So it's really a double whammy there. If they're not dictating the pace and making shots and able to set up a press or able to kind of assert their will, this defense is garbage. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to try to overstate it or say anything that's out of line or anything like that, but this defense sucks. This is Kenny Payne level defense, dude. It's not bad, good. Man. It's not good.
And it's a lack of adjustments within games continually. Over the last couple of games, it's been less of this, but, you saw this numerous times over a course of 4 or 5 games where, go back to Tennessee, go back to some of the other games where Isaac McNeely is guarding a team's best player. And nobody has ever accused Isaac McNeely of being Louisville's best defender. And adjustments weren't made. And with the post presence, as you said, it makes things a lot harder when neither Frew nor Ali Khalifa are interior post players. Both have, tendencies to struggle with moving their feet, with fouling, with turning the ball over because of charges or whatever the case is. They're both kind of just slower players in general. And this team has no other pivot. And when you talk about concerns, defense is a big part of it, but I'm going to go even deeper. It's roster construction. I have a real problem with the way that Pat Kelsey has used scholarships in the first 2 years being the head coach of Louisville. Now, you go back last year, hindsight is 20/20, right? Whatever it is. But you bring in 2 players that aren't going to play in the year. You ultimately end up in games at times where you have 7 healthy players, 8 healthy players, no one to pivot to, no depth. You don't account for Cason Pryor tearing his ACL. You don't account for Korner Johnson Jr. going out in game 3 with a separated shoulder, right? Those things just happen. But there's no backup plan. This season, once again, you're using 2 of your scholarships on players that don't play. Mohamed Kamara and London Johnson, it appears neither is going to play. And don't even get me started on what the hell is happening with this London Johnson situation. We've got to figure out communication on the side. Like, it feels odd that you have an ACC announcer essentially saying on a podcast that Louisville messed up on their announcement of a player. Anyways, back to my point on roster construction. You take away those 2 players who aren't playing, then throw on top of it that you're essentially not playing Zug in most games. You're not really playing Cason Pryor in most games. That's 4 players right there that aren't helping you win. Then on top of it, Mikel Brown Jr. is out and has not played in 7 games. That's another player. That is 6 players now that are not on your roster. Then you throw in the fact that guys like Ryan Conwell have missed games. Kanai Roots missed games. Ali Khalifa obviously is coming off of major injuries. Kobe Rogers coming off of major injuries. I don't understand the roster construction and what we're doing with holding players back, even if they can't really provide you much in terms of, I mean, I don't think anybody's saying we need to play Mohamed Kamara 25 minutes a game, London Johnson 25 minutes a game. But what good does it in this era of basketball to hold these guys back when you have a real need for more bodies on the court in real time? I just don't understand it. And that's my bigger concern. And it goes back to what I'm realizing is becoming a trend, is that what I think is going to need to happen is that Pat Kelsey at some point is going to have a senior coach come in to be an assistant that can help call out some of these things where it seems like his staff is just all in line with what Pat wants and what Pat's doing. And I think that over time, say me, you, Vincent Lococo, producer Keith, throw in maybe, Alex Stengel, some older State of Louisville folks. We throw us into a coaching staff and we do the same thing and we do it really well at XYZ site. And then we do it at XYZ website number 2. And then we get hired at the Big Shot, right? We come up and we're a team for 5 years. Eventually there's going to be this kind of unspoken, we're in line all the time and we don't necessarily check each other. And I'm not saying that that's not happening. I can't see that in real time, but it certainly doesn't look like the adjustments are being made, that things are being, changing when things are happening. And I think that is where this big opportunity lies. And I think if the season goes the way it's looking, and I'm not saying that it will, I think that's where in the offseason Pat's got to make some changes on bringing in somebody that's a little bit more senior that can help provide just a higher level of basketball analysis than what he's getting right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you make such great points, Jacob. I think that last year you saw the ceiling in a sense of what a coach like Kelsey can bring to the table, in a sense that he brought all of this blue-collar, chip on your shoulder, underdog mentality into his hiring, into roster construction, into a revitalization of the fan base, season ticket sales, recruiting going into the next year, and then comes in and just tears it up, seizes momentum by every sense of the word, is unflinching. Like unfathomably unflinching. We talked about that stretch. I don't know exactly what it is, but something like a 21 out of 23 games won last year, right? When we were creeping towards the end of the year this year, where Louisville had not had a regular season loss in 2025. Like, so I don't want to sit here and act like this is just gross negligence or this is something where Pat Kelsey is completely in over his head. But I think the downside is the floor now that you have with a coach that has never won an NCAA tournament game, that has always coached at a lower level, that has a mentality of being very open and transparent around his program, and then all of a sudden faces adversity. And then you see in real time what adversity is looking like. And his answers and press conferences and the product that he's putting on the floor. You're seeing Louisville hit adversity under Pat Kelsey really for the first time. And the honeymoon phase at this point is over. I think if you want a defining moment of this Pat Kelsey era where the honeymoon phase had ended and the typical expectations of get us to the goddamn Sweet 16, excuse my language, get us to the Sweet 16, get us, let's start working towards a Final Four.
Win a tournament game for the first time since 2017. Right. I think that's all we're asking for at this point. That's all we're asking for. It's not a lot.
And we are getting to the point now where it is you have had time to implement whatever this is, whatever your program is. And when it's against inferior foes, right, like I think that if Pat Kelsey had this team at College of Charleston, he'd go, 29-2, right? Like,
yeah, right.
No doubt, right? Like, to him, it's very similar to like a Scott Satterfield, right? When he's constructing this roster, he's like, we got some dudes, Sananda Frew, man, like Ali Khalifa, he can't jump, but you should see him pass. Like, like you look at Ali Khalifa at College of Charleston, and you're like, damn, that dude's a baller. And when you have College of Charleston on the schedule and you're Kansas or Oregon or whoever it happens to be, and Ali Khalifa's coming in, you're like, dude, watch this 47-year-old looking dude drop dimes. Like, it's unbelievable. But when it actually is like serious Power 5 college basketball and you realize Ali Khalifa can't get up and down the court, he can't defend, he can't move his feet, he can't jump, then all of a sudden you're like, what the hell are we doing? Like, what was the reasoning behind this? And you're right, Jacob. Why bring in Mo Kamara if you're just going to redshirt him? Why bring in Vangelis Zugris when he gets here and I'm standing, courtside at TBT and I'm next to this dude? And I'm like, he is shorter than producer Keith. Like he's just would blend in with any of Louisville's offensive linemen, right? When you are assembling a roster in this way, you have to construct it in such a way that you attribute to for or accommodate for injuries or attrition across the roster. Yes, if Louisville's roster was perfectly healthy and things were clicking on all cylinders, this is a top 5 team. There is no doubt in my mind, right? Like Nick Korner and I had an in-depth conversation about this morning, Jacob, about if this team is playing up to their potential, they have Final Four ceiling capabilities, right? But I think what you're seeing now is when things aren't going right. when you're not hitting shots, when your defense and your scheme is not able to adapt to what other teams are doing well, you're just getting embarrassed.
Yeah,
You shouldn't trail for 39 minutes and 30 seconds at home against anybody. I'm sorry, you shouldn't. They didn't even tie the game. They were never tied.
It's two straight games of giving the fans nothing, like absolutely nothing. And I shouldn't say two straight because obviously the Duke game, it felt like two straight, but it was really the second half where the fans are just like, please come on, for the love of God, like just something. And tonight they tried and willed. And this team, I said it earlier, there's just not that same something like desire. I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't feel the same as what they did last year. And to go back and kind of put a bow on the conversation of this team, there's a sequential kind of time lapse or timeline that you have to look at. And if he was on the show right now and was contributing this conversation, he'd be like, look, man, look at that. We're missing this the number one point guard in the country. He is out. We are missing him, dealing with this back injury. This dude is out here rehabbing every day. Like, you would get the whole spiel, and what you'd be getting at is we're missing our point guard. And then if I was like, all right, coach, but let's talk about your front court, which if there's the question, the next question here on the show is, what is the biggest thing you learned about Louisville against Virginia? And the question I would counter back to Pat about that is, well, your front court is fully healthy. And what the hell is it? Because that's not a front court in the ACC against a team in Virginia that is one of the top shot blocking teams in the country that plays 2 7-footers. It was embarrassing to see your big man absolutely disappear from this game and want no part of playing on the inside. You saw Louisville get their shot blocked over and over and over again, whether it was Frew, whether it was Conwell, whether it was Woolley. They did not care. They were, everyone can get their shot blocked. They absolutely were not going to discriminate against any type of basketball player on Louisville's roster. And I think when you look at that conversation around roster construction, and you can look at this roster and say, okay, the majority of the money seems to be like more than likely it's tied up in 4 guards. Okay, I'm cool with that. I think the 4 guards you got are some of the 4 best in the country. I love it. Let me look at the rest of the roster and see where we kind of put the rest of our money. I'd say behind that is probably keeping Hadley and Roots. And then this is the big flaw in this team. And I don't know injury-wise where Case and Pryor is at. I can't say what is going on, why he's only played in 9 games this season. He's only scored double figures once. He comes in, he headbutts players. Now he draws the technical whatever. He shoots really bad threes. He doesn't get rebounds. He doesn't participate. He doesn't really provide you much of anything. And I would imagine he's in that mix of players that you paid a lot of money to come back and to provide that culture, have that chip on the shoulder. And it's missing. And it's missing across the entire front court, to where then that money that was tied up in those players that are now not giving you enough, you're seeing where the money spreads thin over Khalifa. And now I'm not saying Frew is not a good player, but Frew needs another dominant front court player next to him. Like, if he had a Onyesa from Virginia on his team, a dominant shot blocker that could control the paint, I think it would be a completely different story for Sananda Frew. But he doesn't have that, and it's an undersized 4 in Javon Hadley, who doesn't realize basketball games have started until the second half. That's one of the biggest complaints I have about Javon Hadley this season. He dominates the game in the second half, but in the first half, he's nowhere to be found. And then Zug and Khalifa. Now, Khalifa has he's certainly been a great passer. Like, you aren't doubting that. In the last 3 games has been electric shooting the ball from 3. Now,
can I say just very quickly too, I think maybe his best game in a Louisville uniform tonight.
Yeah, he played. The Duke game was incredible.
He held his own. He got more minutes than Frew tonight, or right at equal distribution, and it was deserved. Like, he held his own on defense. Louisville won the points in the paint battle 28-12, Jacob. Like, just think about that for a second. That will not happen the rest of the season. They will not win the points in the paint battle more than doubling up the opponent and lose almost by double digits again. Like, they won't.
And the story wasn't Virginia's offensive output in the front court by any means. It wasn't. It was Virginia's ability to just dominate Louisville's defense and move the ball around and find open offensive players time and time again, whether it was Lewis, whether it was Malik Thomas in the second half, whether it was DeRitter, whether it was the big 7-footer. I mean, they were all impressive. And again, this team, the big pieces just don't work. They don't fit. They don't complement. And kudos to Louisville fans. Here's what I'll say. If you go back to the offseason, there was a defining point where in the portal where it looked like Louisville's roster was set. Louisville's coaching staff was like, yeah, we got what we want. And then Baba Miller from Florida Atlantic goes into the portal. Would you like Baba Miller on this team? A 7-footer who can play the 4 and 5. He's been fantastic. Now he has a 7-footer also next to him, which benefits him at Cincinnati. Now Cincinnati sucks. They're doing a brown paper bag out or whatever for Wes Miller to get out of there. But my point being, Louisville's coaching staff and team was like, no, we're good. We got Zug, we got like Khalifa, we're good. And Louisville fans are like, no, you need another 4. You don't have the right 4s and 5s. You need one more. And they were right. Ultimately, Louisville fans were right in that situation. Now, again, Roots didn't play tonight. I think he would have been a big part of helping with the physicality and matching the energy. But time and time again, when Louisville has played against the Dukes of the world, when Louisville's played against the Tennessees of the world, when Louisville has played against the Arkansas of the world, they've gotten punked by every big man they've played, whether it be a guy that looks like Trevon Brazile or whether it looks like a guy in Bruno, the 7-footer. I mean, it's just been a masterclass of these front courts having their way, which ultimately, and it's not just offensive output, but it's opened up everything else for them to shoot the ball well because they have the ability to rebound, put back, block shots, all those things that you need your front court to do that Louisville's front court simply does not. And last thing I'll say, sorry, again, long-winded here, but you simply cannot have a 19-point and 13 rebound outing against Boston College and show up and score 6 points on the second half and pull down 5 rebounds, have 5 fouls, foul out of the game. Sananda Fruit has got to figure out consistency on this team. Has to, because the games like Boston College, the games like Stanford, where the double doubles, the Californias are great, but the games like Duke, where he just completely disappears, and Virginia are going to cost Louisville against really good basketball teams. Honestly, here's a great exercise. I would love to see what his averages are against ranked teams. Would love to see it.
Not good.
No, I would be willing to bet you it's 5-6 points a game, 4 or 5 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 3 turnovers, 4 fouls.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, and I'm not going to pretend to, and I'm not going to look it up now, but you have a spreadsheet where you just keep track of player points, right? And it's nothing else other than 3, 12, 22, 11, 2, 3. And Sananda Fruz is freaking hysterical because you know if he scored 3 the last game, he's scoring 15 the next game. And if you know if he scored 15 that game, the next game he's going to score 12. You got it in front of you?
Yeah, okay, so here's his stat line for the year, and we would have to go – he's played in every game this year, so you'd have to go back and line this up, and I could probably do it in real time. It's probably not great at content, but he goes 9, 12, 10, 11, 5, 8, 14, 11, 4, 18, 13, 15, 2, 19, 16, 2. 19, 6. So you're talking
even
about –
drastic over the last month, too.
Yeah, that's 3, 11, 16, 5 over the last month, essentially. But if you go back and you look at that, now take away the beginning of the season because the first game was against South Carolina State, his debut, right? But if you fast forward, I believe the 5 or 8 point outing was against Cincinnati. And that was a game where Louisville was obviously dealing with the 7-footer and Mustafa Tham, and then with Baba Miller, right? A 7'2" and 7-foot front court, essentially. And then you go a little bit further and you look at Arkansas and then you look at Tennessee. And I mean, I can pull these. I have these games tracked in real time. I can trail you. I mean, against Tennessee,
against Arkansas, that possibly his best performance of the year.
Yeah. So Arkansas, not a great example, but again, I mean, how much of that is, in the second half of that game? I mean, he had, or in the first half only of that game, he was nowhere to be found in the second half. Only had 2 points in the second half of that game.
I think he went 6 for 7 in the first half and finished 7 for 9.
How about this? Tennessee, 4 points in the first half, I believe, doesn't score again, has 4 rebounds. Maybe 6 points max. I might have missed 2 there, give or take. I mean, tracking that in real time. I mean, not good, right? Fast forward to you start to get into ACC play against, teams that are not bad teams, but they're not dominant teams by any means. He has 13 and 14 against a undersized front court against Cal, and Lee Dort was their 5. Not necessarily a big bruising team, right? So Frew has his first career double-double, comes back against Stanford and has the 15 and 8, but then that's where he goes to Duke, and he doesn't score in that game until the second half. He has 2 points. He only has 4 rebounds, 3 of those in the second half. I mean, that's fine if you have another big man that can play alongside of him. But when you're asking Cason Pryor, and when you're not sure with Kenai what you're getting on a night-to-night basis, and with Javon Hadley, he just kind of is what he is. He's not evolved his game. He's not bringing you anything extra this year. It's the same thing, just not the efficiency he was last year. So your pieces just don't match, and this is what it looks like. It's unfortunate, but that's just where it is. And now, again, that's the problem, Press, is people are going to listen to this in the comments. I can already see it. They're so negative. They're saying the season's over. I'm just going off of what the data of this team tells me, and I'm drawing the conclusions based off of what's ahead of them. But I'm also telling you, I believe that Pat Kelsey and them can figure it out, right the ship, hopefully get some guys healthy, and see where it shakes out, man. But I can certainly tell you this, man, and I know it's not front court, but you look at a guy like Kobe Rogers. He hasn't scored in double figures all season long. I mean, you just can't have many pieces like that on your team and then have 4 guys who essentially are not playing. That's just, it's a recipe for just not having enough. It is what it is.
I think we are at a point in the season where, you got to have that come to Jesus moment, right?
You do, yeah.
I think so. From a fan perspective, if we're just all aligning mentally here with what's realistic and what the expectation should be, I think that we have to approach the rest of this season as going forward, there's a very, very small chance that Mikel Brown is back, right? I think that you look at the draft boards right now. The draft boards, Mikel Brown is tanking, and I'm not saying that that's the end-all, be-all. He could get healthy and go work out for some teams. And all
combine workouts will be where he makes his money back, but he's definitely slipping.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one girl to kiss you by your locker one time, and next thing you know, you're going home and meeting her parents on the weekend, right? So that's all it takes, Jacob. But let's be real here. If Mikel Brown comes back and then he re-exacerbates an injury, that is a huge red flag for NBA teams. And I think that
it's the Michael Porter Jr. thing all over again. Sorry to cut you off. It's the Michael Porter Jr. thing. That's the injury comparison I'll go back to. It's the same thing. Michael Porter Jr. got injured in the opening moments of the Missouri-Illinois game in 2017, I think is the year that he was the 5-star, top 5 player, number 1 player in the class, goes to a school like Missouri off the beaten path, was expected to kind of be the guy for them, obviously number 1 pick, gets hurt in warm-ups, doesn't play again, I don't believe, until he might have played one other time, but I don't think he played again until the NCAA tournament. And at that point, they were like a double-digit seed, just obviously showed the guy wanted to be there, but it cost him his draft status. That injury and going and doing that, if he had not played that season, would have probably been the number 1 pick. Instead, he falls to 14th or 15th. Now, look, it worked out for him. Was on a championship team with the Denver Nuggets, right? Made his money. He's now the man in Brooklyn. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the draft status is what's got to be protected here if you're Mikel Brown Jr. Point blank, period. Sorry about it. And that's the thing that sucks in this day and age of college basketball. It is what it is. And a lot of fans are going to say, well, don't do any more 5-star nonsense. Don't do this. But this is the world we live in, where the draft is that is the goal. Not playing at Louisville. It's not the goal to play at Louisville. It's just a part of the journey to get there. And I think for him, you have to protect your draft status. But hopefully that, I'm not a doctor, but I'm hoping that he can get himself healthy enough to where there's no fear of a re-pull or slip or whatever the case is. But I have no idea, man. Backs are scary things. I just feel like you have one injury, it's like an ACL, and then it's just constant things going on with your back from that point on. I don't know.
I mean, back injuries they're a bitch, right? Let's call it out as you never know when they're going to flare up. Like, I mean, being in Louisville is one of the worst places in the world to be for a back injury. It is humid here and shitty weather all the time, and you go from it being 66 one day to 12 the next day. And I'm not making excuses or anything, but I mean, as somebody who is getting old, like, your back just you wake up one morning and your bones are cold. And that's how it is for the rest of your life, Jacob.
I just be laying in bed and literally just laying there doing nothing, and it just locks up, and I'm just like, Yes. My wife's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I just exist. Like, I don't know."
Yeah, Mikel Brown fell from like the length of the rim to the floor and landed on his back, and that's why he hurts. But yours hurts from just carrying the
fat
societal pressure of being a man and a father in 2026, Jacob.
Exactly.
In all seriousness, though, I think a good way to end this, just very quickly, is from a fan perspective. I think that we should prepare for Mikel not to come back. I think that is if you're approaching this from a diehard fan perspective, that is a very healthy way to approach this, because I think it's a realistic way to think about this team. Right?
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to have just for a second here. I just want to have a conversation. We've waited 55 minutes to do this, but I just want to, again, go back to the point of Pat being in the room here. I just want to have this conversation as if he's here, right? Like,
welcome in, Pat.
Welcome in. Would you say, all right, Pat, I don't think, but the writing is on the wall. It doesn't seem like he's going to play. And he'd be like, why? Why do you think that? Like, so my question to you, why do you think that? Like, why can you confidently say that you don't think he's going to play? I mean, I have my opinion too, and I'm not saying that they're right or wrong, but why do you confidently say he's not going to play?
In golf, there is this so there's stroke play where it's just me versus you for 18 holes, 72 holes, whatever it is, and it's my score versus your score. There's match play, right? Mm-hmm. Where things can swing like crazy. I could be 3 feet, 4 feet from the cup, and you make a 50-foot bomb, and all of a sudden I miss it, and I lose the hole all of a sudden.
Right.
And the thought process always, you're taught, especially as you're learning to play the game a little bit more, you're taught that the approach is always, I know Jacob's going to make this putt. I have to make my putt no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. It's similarly put in basketball. If you're a coach and you call a timeout and you have to foul, and it's between going down 2 or 4, and they get 2 free throws, right? Your assumption as a coach is that they're going to make both free throws. It's not that, hey, he's going to go 1 for 1 here. No, he's going to make both free throws, and you have to assume the worst. And so as a fan, if you're taking that approach, and if you're a coaching staff and you're preparing for the rest of the season, you prepare for without Mikel, right? Okay. And I think they're doing a disservice to the rest of the team as competitors, as leaders, if they are guiding the team as if their savior Mikel Brown is coming back. This is now or never, right? For Ryan Conwell, for Adrian Woolley, for Isaac McNeely, right? These are, for a lot of these guys, this is their last season in college basketball. It's their last chance. And it would be doing them a disservice, be doing everybody, the team, the city, the program a disservice if you're preparing like Mikel's just coming back tomorrow. Like, he's just going to come back and save you. Because, number one, that's just not realistic. You can't expect one player to come back and fix the mess that is Louisville basketball right now. And I'm not saying that this is going to be a mess forever. I think it's a clean upable mess. But right now it's a mess. And number two, you need to prepare for what's next. You need to prepare for a potential for Mikel not to be there, and what's the game plan? Because right now there's not one, and that's disturbing. That's awful. It's not good. And look, maybe there is a game plan, and it's like the Kenny Payne era. They just go out and they wear tights or they don't wear tights. They're falling off the Titanic or they're jumping back on. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. It's baked in. They're going to suck without Mikel. Like, maybe that's what it is. But I think the reality of the situation is the coaching staff is probably preparing to be without Mikel. And I think as fans, you should too. You should prepare to not have him and say it's February 17th, just making up a day. Louisville takes the court, Mikel Brown walks out, and we all get excited. But you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if he goes back out there and he plays one play and he can't do it. You just don't know. And so with injuries like this and with the situation that he's in, we should be prepared to go on without him. And I think this is a tournament team without Mikel Brown. But you have to mentally prepare yourself as a fan for this to be it. For us to have had our great 8 games or whatever it was with Mikel and just be ready to move on. I think that's just reality. And I feel like you probably feel much the same, Jacob.
I do. I do. I think the thing, again, going back is if Pat was sitting here, the thing that I would counter with is the timeline doesn't make sense to me, Coach. Like, help me understand this. The injury happened roughly December 13th. At this point, that's 1 month ago to this day, right? Sure. And since then, he misses Tennessee, Montana. Okay, I understand. But then the listing of being probable before Cal, that's where things really feel weird to me. That's where it feels like that's where there's merit to this whole, like, fans running with narratives, because it seemed as though why, again, if he has a back injury, why would Mikel Brown Jr. travel to the West Coast for, I get wanting to have him around the team, but that just seems like it's pointless for a guy trying to come back from a back injury if he's not going to play. I believe, personally, I think there was a chance Mikel was going to play in that game, whether he was re-injured or whatever. I don't know. And then since then, the history would tell me that, once again, Pat, if you're sitting here in the room, your answers left me really worried that something bigger was going on here. But then Pat, you got excited before the Duke game. It made it sound like he was back. Like, it's just a matter of when he's back at this point. But then before BC, the tone and narrative completely changed again to, I don't know when he's going to be back. It's at this point, we'll find out when he's back. So that, to me, leads me, if a fan is saying, why are you so confident? At this point, what does Mikel Brown Jr. have to gain by coming back to play at Louisville? Now, maybe that's a dumb question to ask, because that would mean there's more tape, more game opportunity. But what if he comes back and he's a step slower? Or what if he comes back and he's not fully healthy and he tweaks something, and then his status at the combine is in question, and then he can't work out, and then those 10 games that he did play is all they have on him? That changes things, and that changes a number 3 overall pick to Michael Porter Jr. situation, where you're the 15th overall pick. Just look at Shadon Sharp. What's his name? Shaden Sharp played at UK. Yeah. Didn't play at UK, but went to UK. Mm-hmm. Similar situation, right? Hamidou Diallo all those years ago. Similar situation. It's just a weird thing. And I think in this situation, I think I would agree he's not going to play again. And if he does, then we get to celebrate like how awesome that is, that we get a chance to have a full healthy team, figure it out late, be one of those teams that connects over the final, 6-7 games of your season, and maybe finds magic into March and April. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But at this point, to your point, Press, it's a bit of a mess. But thankfully, we got like some, I don't know, Mr. Clean. I don't know what you would call Pittsburgh, but maybe they're going to be our Mr. Clean, because I think that playing against Pittsburgh can help clean this mess up, because this is a bad Pittsburgh team. I think that this is very much a team that for the last few years has had a lot of really fun, dynamic transfer guards, from Jalen Lowe to Nike Sabandi to, some of the others that have played. And now, well, I do think that they still have some pieces, and it could be a very similar situation like BC, where Donald Hand and I'm forgetting his name, but the other guard opposite of Donald Hand went off. Both of those guards just got what they wanted. And I think in a situation against Pitt, where they only play 7 guys, really, I mean, they just don't have a very deep roster. And, they do have, I think Brandon Cummings and Barry Dunning Jr. can find their own. Same with, DeMarco Minor. Those 3 are dynamic guards. But I just think Louisville's going to have a game where they can come back and dominate by 15, 20 points. And maybe, just maybe, then you can start getting guys healthy. But, it's a long shot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at that BC game as a chance to bounce back. And, I mean, look, Pitt is your last real opportunity. Do we play Pitt twice? I guess besides Pitt, Pitt's your only other opportunity. I would just play Pitt once, because we play SMU twice this year.
We play SMU. Yeah, and then you still have to play an out-of-conference game, which is kind of different this year than when we
Baylor,
right? With Baylor, right? And you have, as you mentioned, sorry, not to just kind of provide more context to the last opportunity. I mean, Notre Dame is another team that's not great in the conference, but even them could beat you. We saw, they beat Stanford right before Louisville played Stanford. Wake Forest is not the Wake Forest we've seen with Hunter Salas and some of the guards that they've had. Georgia Tech is, kind of average. Syracuse is okay, but they've got, enough pieces in Nate George and Kyron Anthony and guys that can take advantage of Louisville. So, I mean, I think there's, like, last year, the thing was Louisville won all of those games, and you look over the course of their schedule, and you're like, well, who did they really beat? Was there much value? The Clemson team they beat was ranked, and that's a good win. But But outside of that, you beat a lot of teams that were bottom of the conference that just weren't good. And this year, the conference is up, which is great, right? It's awesome that Duke and North Carolina and SMU and Virginia is back. And, some of these big name brands in the ACC are where you need them to be. But now that's not a good sign for you when you start to hit the slopes and struggle, because there's just not a lot of places left to find winnable momentum games unless you come out and truly play a great basketball game. Like, right. You're not going to just accidentally beat Virginia Tech, Presley. You're not just going to accidentally beat NC State or SMU. You have to come and have the best game plan and be at the top of your game, because all of those teams have formidable front courts for the most part, and they have guards that can beat you, man. And at this point, if we can't figure out how to guard, Boopie Miller at SMU might have a triple-double against us at this point, like in a revenge game. I mean, he has just been electric passing the basketball this year, and we know what he can do scoring. I mean, shit, man. He could go for 40, 10, and 10 against us, and it wouldn't surprise me at this point. Yeah. We can't stop a nosebleed, man. It's bad. Can't stop anybody.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, just very quickly, I think, number one, as you suggested, Jacob, the schedule this year is such that if you continue to play at the level that you're playing right now, you will not be a 500 team in the ACC. I think that there are some more Pitts and Boston colleges out there that will start to show themselves a little bit more, but you also lost freaking Stanford. Like, right. Not that Stanford sucks, right? But they're going to be a bubble team at best, right? Like, they're not going to go out there and snag a 6 seed. And so I guess the point that I'm getting to is this team is showing that, unlike last year, they can absolutely be susceptible, and they have become so reliant on the three that it's gotten to the point where it's not just that they're shooting a lot of threes because they're in the rhythm of the offense. It's just, right, we have the green light to shoot threes, let's shoot threes. And that's not acceptable. That's not an acceptable way to play at the highest level of basketball if you're freaking LeBron, right? That's just not an acceptable way to play basketball. And they have to have a come-to-Jesus moment at some point, hopefully very soon, and figure out what the solution is for that. In my opinion, I think that you have an opportunity to be a lot more physical down low with your bigs. I think Sananda Fruga needs to get the ball a lot more regardless of who the opponent is. I think that Kenai Roos needs to get the ball when he's healthy a lot more than he is right now. I think that Javon Hadley needs to do what he did at the beginning of the second half tonight and get the ball a lot more in the paint and be able to assert his will. I think that that's a strength that Louisville has that they've not been consistent about trying to enforce, and that has to change immediately. And I think that overall, the coaching staff has to look inward, reflect on what they've done, be able to have the courage to say that their game plan is not working and be able to readjust, because there was this readjustment period last year. It just happened with a little bit more veteran squad coming in with a little bit more of a chip on its shoulder, and they were able to make the adjustment before Christmas. And I think that this year they've not been able to do that. There's been a lot of questionable stuff going on as far as there's no defensive adjustments. There's no adjustments to, like, when a team like Virginia is just asserting its dominance and getting as many second chance points as it wants. There's no adjustments when they're not closing out on threes. These are consistent issues that have been persistent over and over and over. And those are issues as well, Jacob, that are not going to be corrected by getting Mikel Brown back. No, Mikel Brown's going to help you have a more efficient offense, which could lead to, in turn, maybe a little bit better defense. But overall, their defense has been their defense since game one. And they've been able to just outrun and out-tough and out-physical lesser opponents. But we're finding that those lesser opponents are so lesser that they've played 5 or 6 teams that are bottom of the barrel teams, right? Like, there's multiple opponents who have like 1, 2, 3 wins on the season right now. So really, when they played anybody of substance, it's just not been okay. It's not been right. And I think it's exacerbated by the way that Pat Kelsey has handled the Mikel Brown situation, right? So not only are you not willing to bend, but also it was that when we talk about Mikel not coming back, and kind of we were getting to this for a second, but just to paint a very clear picture here, Jacob, there was a tell right? Like Pat Kelsey showed his hand in that press conference when he just straight up cut everybody off, said, I'm not talking about injuries, even though he's talked about injuries every single time he's talked with the media, whether it be Bob Valvano, whether it be his Monday morning press conference, whether it be post-game. Doesn't matter. He's talked about injuries every single time. So that's just a complete fabrication.
I mean, shit, the dude literally told us about Noah Waterman's injury last year. You brought that up a couple weeks ago. Like, nobody knew that. I mean, that's the juxtaposition and why fans have questions on that.
And that's it's a dead giveaway, right? I understand HIPAA. Trust me, I get it. Right? If you can't divulge information, say that. Give a legitimate answer. And I think that's where there was a tell that there's more than just an injury here, right? Like, I'm not trying to speculate or anything, but there's something else out there that's really irking him. And I don't know if it's just this is his first time. I mean, as Louisville fans, it's our first time handling it as well. But maybe this is his first time handling a situation like this.
No,
but there's something more out there, right? That's happened that is continuing to exacerbate this. And I think that the Louisville staff has a tough decision to make, right? Like, it could get to a point where I talked about, let's pretend Mikel's not going to be, not pretend, but like, let's just proceed as if Mikel's not going to come back. And if he does, great, right? But maybe there is a situation where he's ingrained so much within the team that people are just expecting him back. And they're like, let's just get through the shitty part until we get Mikel. I don't think that's right. Number one, I don't think that's right.
Well, yeah, of course not.
Number two, this is a team that has enough talent to be really good. Say you constructed this entire team and there's no Mikel. This is still a quality top half of the ACC team. They should not be struggling the way that they are. And so I think that there just needs to be this kind of internal reflection on what this team has become, because they're so much better than where they are now. I think that's the frustrating part. And I think it's become almost a distraction, the fact that Mikel is dealing with this. But to your point, Jacob, there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. So obviously we'll know more as time passes. But as of right now, maybe. I mean, like, I'm saying maybe in April, we know, right? But the handling of the situation, the deflecting and the kind of finger pointing at the media and ask Katie Kresnick and whatever else has gone on has been handled abhorrently. The London Johnson situation, which we didn't even get to, was handled abhorrently, right? You come out and post like he's going to come in and give you significant minutes, and he doesn't even dress, right? Like, maybe he goes out for warm-ups. He didn't warm up in the second half. It was all for
He didn't have a jersey on. He didn't even have a jersey on, man.
Yeah, I mean, so what? I don't know what the point of that is. Like, we trying to send a message? I don't know. It's just all been handled poorly. The optics have been awful. It's been, PK came out and said this has been a real test of character for the team, but I think it's a test of leadership for him and his staff, and that they're failing. And I think that there's opportunity to turn it around and get a C or a B, but right now it's an F, and it's disheartening to say, but that's why we started this show by saying I'm close to anger, but I'm also close to apathy, because we've been here before. We've dealt with this.
Yeah,
we've been through the Chris Mack and the Kenny Payne and the end of the Bettino era, and we're ready to move on. We're ready to move on from the bullshit. We're ready to continue forward on this path of transparency that Pat Kelsey set last season, and it's been just so disheartening and disappointing that this is where we are on January 13th.
I mean, donor fatigue is a real thing in the era of college sports that we're in, and this is how you bring on donor fatigue right here, is asking them to provide you millions of dollars and then providing them a return of and is subjective, right? And football to us is 9-4. Like, that's what we got, right? And in basketball, it could end up being a 500 record in the ACC with a 5-star top 5 player on your roster and one of the best, if not the best, transfer portal hauls in the country. And that's something that Pat will have to own and bounce back from. And it's certainly, no one in this show is saying hot seat, fire, replace, whatever. No, it's at a point now, though, where you're past the honeymoon stage, and now you got to prove. I saw a tweet of this. I saw somebody, I don't remember who it was at this point, but I saw somebody compare him to Scott Satterfield And I think that if these lack of adjustments and my system, culture first with losses continues to compound, that comparison will look more and more true. And I'm not saying that that's what this is or who that will be, but I do think that we're at a very pivotal time where Pat has to look in the mirror, has to look at his staff, has to look at how they approach basketball, NIL, roster building, everything, and make decisions and turn from there. And if you look historically, every Louisville basketball coach has gone through this stage. Like, I can vividly remember it with Chris Mack, and ultimately it ate Chris Mack up and spit him out for lunch. Kenny Payne is just stupid and never got to that point. He was dumb before he even got to Louisville, stayed stupid the whole time. Rick Pitino, I mean, you go through those years, it looked different, right? He comes in, he replaces Denny Crum, but he's not some unproven guy, right? He's Rick Pitino, who won a national championship, who was an NBA coach, a Hall of Famer, probably before he even got to Louisville. He had years built in, but he was successful nearly right away. Nearly, I say nearly, there were certainly some ups and downs, but you saw what it looks like when Rick hit the wall, right? The wall came years later, but it grayed him. It turned him into a skeleton. Louisville basketball has this way of chewing you up and spitting you out. And the ones that survive are the ones that have the ability to understand basketball at a high enough level to realize they have to make changes. And Rick Pitino made changes. It ultimately cost him. Now, I'm not saying, Pat, go out and sell your soul for a championship, but every coach at Louisville that's come through has had this wall of, I'm at a great program that is established in prestige, and my way ain't working. What do I do? And if they don't answer the call, that's ultimately where it leads to, the fans starting to kind of turn and say, okay, this isn't the guy, or this isn't the way, And I think we're not there. And this could be very much an early conversation that in a week looks moot because Louisville's gotten Mikel Brown Jr. back and they beat Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech. But I'm just saying, this is the world we live in now in college basketball, and these things will continue to be around and new and feel big and like major news. And, I think it's up to Pat to be able to deal with those and keep the waters, when they're choppy, keep them smooth. Like, that's his job. He's got to find a way to do that. And exacerbating the problem by making vague comments or getting upset at poor, sweet little Brooks Helton, who's just trying to ask a question and do his job. Whatever the case is.
Doing it, Brooks.
Keep going, Brooks.
Matt, I've already texted Matt, dude.
Rashawn. I mean, the media is doing, a few of them are continuing to press him and ask questions. And as they should, because we're at a point right now where you got to answer for some of these things, regardless of how much money you make, who you are. Like, that's the whole reason why media exists, is so that you can speak on what is happening and provide your take on it. But, it is what it is. It's really funny. I don't remember who the reporter was. There's a reporter. I don't remember if you remember this. It was 2018, Bobby Petrino. He worked for the Courier Journal. I think his first name was Jake. I can't remember his last name. Was only here for a couple of years, but man, I vividly remember this. Every week, first question, it's like, all right, Coach Petrino at the microphone. Hey, Coach, so-and-so here, Courier Journal. What is the status on Kamari Averett? I mean, it was the first question. Every time Bobby would be like, Jake, I told you, man, I don't have an update. This is, he's still away from the team. And it was Bobby. And like each week, you could just like the tension in the room, like, oh, he's going to fucking ask it again. He's going to ask it again. And Bobby's just going to, Jake, he's not available, And that's what Brooks is doing to Pat. And it's getting under Pat's skin, when there's no reason for it to, unless there is a reason for it to, which is what we're all trying to figure out.
Right. I mean, I think most people have made this connection, if you will, in the local media, but I think it's kind of important to reiterate that, when you leave things ambiguous, when you leave them up for interpretation with a fan base like Louisville's fans, with everything that they've been through, I mean, they're more than snake bitten. They've been heartbroken and had their heart ripped out and stomped on many times over the last decade. And this felt like a team that could be the one that really turns things around, right? Like last year, you had the revival. This year, you could be, there's potential to be jumping into Final Four talks and national championship aspirations and everything that comes along with that. But now, I mean, you're seeing I don't want to call it a fall from grace, but you're seeing a serious kind of butthole clenching, if you will, of the fan base. We've seen this story before. We've seen our teams, kind of flounder a little bit like this, and typically it goes one of two ways. It goes extremely south, or you kind of have a reckoning and another revival 2.0 and figure it out. I think that there's an opportunity for that, Jacob, and that could be a great title for the show as well, the Revival 2.0. But you got to see a lot of changes. They got to be drastic, right? Like I'm saying, you have to, as the coaching staff, be willing to go to a zone. You have to be willing to play unconventional lineups. Yeah. You have to be willing to do things that you haven't done because you're continuing to do the same things and have the same results, and that's just not acceptable. You have a roster in front of you right now. You have a group that has the talent and has the skill set to be a top 4 seed in the ACC. Still, even right now, it's sitting at 2 and 3 in the conference. You have a team that has an opportunity to go out and have multiple top 25 wins still. You still play Duke again. You still play North Carolina. You still play SMU twice. There are a lot of – you still play NC State. There's lots of opportunities for Louisville to go out there and have a very successful season with or without Mikel Brown, with or without whoever else is on the roster. But you have to make those adjustments now. You have to start seeing change now. You've seen much of the same, over the last couple of games. Not a lot of change, and when there is change, it's too little too late, right? Like, why are we throwing Case and Pryor in for 4 minutes? Either play him or don't, right? Like, he's a guy that's more skilled than Vinjalas Zugris, right? Like, what's the situation there? Why is Kobe Rogers playing 14 minutes when your starting point guard's out? Like, what is it going to take to get this team over the hump other than doing the exact same thing that you've been doing for the last 15 games? And I think that tonight may be that moment. I think maybe it takes a wire-to-wire loss against a team that just came out for like the 4th or 5th straight time and just punked your ass, right? Like, you got punked. You got punked in the second half against Duke. You got punked against Stanford, of all teams. All of these losses, you come out and just got your ass whooped, and you got outcoached, right? Like, I think that's another thing. Virginia came in with a first-year coach, a guy that's never been a head coach before, came in and punked Louisville tonight. And Louisville had no answer, no adjustments. And that has to change. That is something different has to happen. And I, like you said earlier, Jacob, it's not us being negative. This is us just kind of calling it how it is. And things have to drastically improve. Any final comments? This is supposed to be a 30-minute show.
Yeah, you got like 3 episodes in here. Final comments. When inevitably, again, if you've made it to this point in the show, thank you for sticking along for an hour and a half or however long these episodes will be. But when you're the coach of Louisville, the glass is magnified. Like, there is no other way around it. You are the most popular, famous person in the city at all times. Like, name another person in Louisville more famous than Pat Kelsey right now. Like
Papa John. Jeff Brum.
I mean, yes, Papa John, yes, in theory, he's more famous, but comes with far more controversy. No one's just, like, enamored with Papa John. That's right. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Mark
Don G. Yeah, right. 2 completely into the spectrums there. But
how do you spell y'all, Jacob? Go. How do you spell y'all?
What?
How do you spell y'all?
Spell y'all? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Y apostrophe A-L-L.
Mark Blankenbaker thinks it's Y-A apostrophe L-L.
Oh, no. That's weird. But I get it, though, because ma'am is M-A-A-M with an apostrophe in the middle of ma'am.
Not only did he tweet it out today, but somebody, I think Matt Jones in particular, responded and said that he spelled it incorrectly, and he doubled down and said, no, that's spelled correctly.
misspellings seem to be a theme around here with a lot of different people. But I think that speaking of misspellings, but misspeaking, I think that the London Johnson situation, not to keep beating a dead horse here, but when you see the Mikel Brown Jr. situation, and then you see I'm not talking about that. There's no chance of him being eligible this season. And then just days later, I get it. An injury happened to Ryan Conwell. But the messaging, again, announcement goes out that he's eligible. He's burning his red shirt. The messaging does not say that he wouldn't play against Boston College in the official release. I'd have to go back and double check that, but I don't believe it did. But then Jeff Goodman. That's right, exactly. But Jeff Goodman then says, well, Pat Kelsey tells me in the field of 68 that London Johnson will not play in this game. And then you have the entire game in which Seth Davis is talking to us like we asked him to explain red shirts like we're 5, and continuing to reemphasize that a red shirt is not burnt until that player goes into the game. And then we all see that London Johnson doesn't have a jersey on. It's very apparent here that there is a miscommunication or things are not lining up. And I think that anytime you're losing, that's exasperated. When you're winning, no one cares, and we can brush under the table. So for Pat and the team, simple way to end the show here is just win, baby. Just win. Beat Pittsburgh, start there. Circle back, beat Virginia Tech, and then who knows? Go in and figure out against Duke on the road. Maybe, just maybe, you could figure it out and get the big win there. And then who knows, man? Who knows in the second half of the season? But it's too late for me. I got to go to bed, Presley. This is bedtime. Yeah. You asked me how I'm feeling before the show. I said I was kind of whatever. I'm tired now. That's how I feel now.
My family's asleep.
Same.
I'm just alone talking into the void right now. I will say, I am constantly. I go back to this once a month almost when I'm talking.
Oh man, hold on one second. We have breaking news into the show. So this is wild. Okay, it is just to give listeners some insight. Watchers, it is 11:07 following the Virginia game. We have been talking now for an hour and 25 minutes about Virginia and Louisville basketball. We've probably talked about London Johnson several times in the last 15 minutes. This is just in from Joe Tipton. This says, former G League guard London Johnson will continue to redshirt for Louisville this season per Pat Kelsey. He was initially listed as available to play. What in the hell, man? Okay, here. What is Mikel coming back now? Is that how I'm supposed to read this? That's just. To end the show, I leave with more questions than I have answers now. Not that London Johnson makes or breaks anything. I am just so confused. If this dude never plays a second for Louisville basketball, it would not surprise me one bit. Is he the good? Is he the Korn Davis to this team? Is that what he is? Eventually, is he just going to be in the crowd watching the games as a fan? I don't get it.
I'm just going to text him and be like, look, 114 Rosie. There's the lady with the hat. She always leaves at halftime. Come and chill with us. We'll get you a beer.
That's insane, man.
Because he's probably 21, right?
Insane.
In all seriousness, you literally just made the point. You just made the point that, look, what the messaging was inconsistent. It made no sense. Your official Louisville basketball account right before the game tweets out a picture with his jersey with the eyeball emoji. The messaging and the everything coming out of this program is confusing, inconsistent, makes no sense, and I think it's kind of like, again, there's a lack of continuity, right? Like last year, do you remember this? And I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but you remember how impressed we were last year at the start of the season, exhibition season, getting into early non-conference play. We were so impressed by the fact that Pat Kelsey's staff was so up and active and adamant in grabbing players, coaching them on the sidelines. They let players discuss in the huddle for 30, 45 seconds, and they would draw up something on the clipboard on their own and then go in and discuss. And there's something tangible. Every time out, you had something extremely successful happen out of a baseline out of bounds or out of off of dead balls. There was always a play being ran. We were so impressed with the messaging from the program, with the revival and everything that came along with that. Pat Kelsey's energy. We were so just taken aback by just how insane, organized, professional everything was. And it feels like over the last few months, the wheels have fallen off.
Okay.
It feels like the average fan couldn't name what an assistant coach is or who is an assistant coach is. The average fan couldn't, talk about anything except for the messaging directly from Pat Kelsey, which is inconsistent with what media is saying and what the official social accounts are saying. It's just become a mess, and it's flabbergasting.
Can we just call? I'm gonna just call a spade right now, man. It's 11:10. I'm tired, but Pat Kelsey, this is the definition of ducking smoke, man. You had a press conference post game, and you wait, and this news goes out at 11:10 when no media is sitting around asking questions anymore. Am I hearing that right? I mean, I haven't seen anything from Matt McGavick or Mark Blankenbaker where this was said in the press conference. Maybe I missed that. And let's see. Okay, so we actually do have some comments here, so that might have been a little bit premature, but it does look like Pat spoke a little bit about London Johnson. He said it could have been handled a lot better. That starts with me. We tried to fix and find a solution to some of our depth problems that we have been on with our team. With Kel being out and Ryan getting hurt, we had those initial conversations with London. I take responsibility for how it was handled when the statement was put out. The fact of the matter is we had a really good initial conversation, and London was amendable to it. It looked like it was moving in the right direction, but we all have to remember it's a lot to ask the young man. We're already talking halfway through the season. So, I mean, essentially, and then he said, I just don't like how this is reflected on the sports information department or the university. This was me being aggressive. The message was put out at my prompting. So this is Pat essentially saying I flubbed this up, which is kind of what we've been getting at in this one, that he kind of seems like he just went rogue, which is never a good idea. Ask Chris Mack about what happens when you go rogue on messaging. But yeah, rough night for Louisville. You end with an even rougher announcement that London Johnson not going to be available. So what we will in the show on it is that we will be available. Pat, if you need us, man, we'll step in. I still got 2 good minutes in these knees, man. I got you. I can get you a good 3 attempt. I'm not probably going to make it, but I can get you the attempt. So starting 502 Podcast, Jacob Lane, Presley Meyer. We're here. We're available not only for you to listen, to subscribe, watch on the YouTube channel at the State of Lou, but also, Pat, if you need some minutes for some guards with some eligibility, we got you. We'll be back, I would say probably post-Pittsburgh, and then we've got some live events coming up with our folks over at our friends over at Main Event for the Duke basketball game, and some others coming up after that. Presley, any closing words?
Fuck, man. Let's go get a couple wins over the next couple weeks, and I think that could go a long way. And bank on Mikel not coming back, and your life will be a lot happier. And let's get excited about the transfer portal as well.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that was a lot of messages.
That was a lot of messages to end the show, but if you made it this far, you probably got room for one more message. We'll see you next time. Starting 502 Podcast, Jacob Lane, Presley Meyer. We are out. Go Cards.
Love you, go Cards.